Well, welcome everyone to another Planetary Gig Talk podcast. Planetary Gig Talk, Tales of Music and Magic. And I'm your host, Jefferson Glassy, Chief Spiritual Dude of the Planetary Gig Society, whose mission is making connections through music with the intention of bringing peace. I'm really excited today to be able to have a conversation with a really great musician and friend, and he has a lot of wonderful ideas and interesting thoughts and inspirations and things like that. John Tinger, how are you doing?
Great. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate this.
Yeah, you look like you're pretty comfortable there. You got your cigar, and I think you might have some wine there too.
Yeah, I got a nice little glass of port. Those are my
Port.
I call them my meditative indulgences. Every evening after dinner, I have a cigar and a glass of wine or a cup of coffee from driving.
Yeah,
somewhere, and I just let go. It's reflective to me.
Yeah.
Some people agree with it, but it contributes to my mental well-being. It's all part of me. It's part of my music. Because it's all music, it's all about identity, knowing oneself and how we relate to it. But anyway, enough of the cigar talk.
Yeah, you're a good guy, and you're in Alabama, right? Where in Alabama?
Athens, Alabama. It's near half hour from Huntsville. And I'm originally from Long Island, New York. Born and raised there, and I've been down here for 26 years. I moved out of there when I was 31. Wow.
Yeah. Long Island is long.
Yeah.
Island.
I lived 80 miles east of the city. I grew up in a small town called Sound Beach. I'm 1 block away from the Long Island Sound.
Yeah, there was a place there that I visited one time called Port Jefferson.
Yes, I'm 7 miles east, exactly, at Port Jefferson, where I live.
Out, maybe.
Oh yeah. I remember when we were teenagers, we used to go to Port Jeff and hang out down there, and and when we were young and doofy, we went down there and trying to pick up women and all.
Oh boy.
Yeah, they're always in the summer. There were these nice looking women hanging out on the corners. Imagine remember what were those old movies back in the day, Fast Times at Ridgemont High? I'm giving away my age. I'm 57. Kind of like that, what we would do, Dazed and Confused. But that's what Port Jeff reminds me of when I think of Port Jeff. But
it had the ferry went over there to Connecticut, I think.
Yeah, I was the doofy one in the group. But
yeah. So anyway, we've kind of set the scene. I put on this background because it's the river and nature, and I know that you're, as we are into nature, and it makes us feel good to be in nature. And I'm just sitting in my office in the basement, so much better. But I always like to ask this question, and I know that we have some things to talk about, but how did music come into your life? How did music tap you on the shoulder? I mean, I don't know whether your parents were musical or your family was musical. Were you 5? Were you 12 or 20? What instrument did you kind of gravitate toward first? What's been a little bit of your musical trajectory? Because I'm really curious, and I think listeners will be as well.
All right. The earliest memory I have is when I was 3 years old. And I don't remember anything except I have a visual in my head of me holding a red, white, and blue guitar that I forgot who got it for me. It was Christmas. Just a quick vision, just as visual, a picture of me as a little 3-year-old with a guitar. I think I was about 3, maybe 4. Mm-hmm. And of course, I didn't know how to play it and barely was talking when somebody got it for me as a gift. That was my first introduction, I guess, to music, but I think it may have been before, or it may have been right after the guitar, that about my mom died 5 years ago. My mom told me this, probably 6 or 7 years ago. I was informed that I was given a drum set by my Aunt Frances. Oh, I didn't know that until 6 years ago. When my mom, or a year or two before my mom passed, I was like, drums? I was like, Aunt Frances put me a drum set. I don't remember playing drums. And my mom was like, yeah, we got rid of the drum set. It was so loud. And blast away on the drums and everything. But the earliest memory I have is 3 with of a visual memory. But where it really began was I think I was about 9 years old, or 8 years old, living in Floral Park, Queens. That's part of western Long Island, in the city in Queens, where I lived until I was 10. Then we moved out to Sound Beach. Uh, the neighbor across the street, Laura, remember her name, Laura Forte, and her brother Lucas. Wow, can remember that far back. She had a guitar. And when I went over the house one day and I heard her playing, I believe I went home and said, Mom, I want to learn how to play guitar. So she inspired me to want to pick up a guitar. And I don't have any specific recollections of any events at that time, but
Yeah.
I remember that that's what apparently my parents would tell me how I got into guitar at that time. I went over there, and I do remember one time being over there seeing her play. But I mean, that was a long time ago.
Yeah. Were your parents or in your family, were they musical or was
No, no. But thanks for bringing that up again. None of them are musical. Not a single lick of music or art in the family. I was the only one. Not even my brother is. And so I just got into it like through that first spark, that introduction. And our spirit knows that we're musical. It knows when we're born, day one, what our proclivities are going to be, what our natural yearnings and our natural abilities are going to be. It's part of nature.
Mhm.
Like
So,
nature's a nature, not just being nature, but I understand the whole concept of that.
when did you start really focusing on it, taking lessons and
8 years old.
8 years old?
Right after, they bought me a little acoustic guitar. I don't remember where, or I don't even remember what my first guitar was. The red, white, and blue wasn't, that was, I was 3. That was like a toy. I do not remember. Oh my God, I don't remember my first guitar. My first acoustic guitar. That's crazy. I do not remember.
Well, you have to get
Why
back
is
to us
that?
on that. But so from 8 years old,
Lessons.
did you get into bands after a while and you took more music lessons and did you
Yeah.
in high
I,
school or kind of what was your trajectory there?
yeah, I'll give you the story on it. And then you'll appreciate this after our 1 month of assistance.
Yeah.
I did not realize or really take it to heart and reflect on having quality teachers from day one. I was 8 years old. I remember the names of all my teachers. My very first guitar teacher at 8 years old, his name was Tom Fisher. I even tried looking him up a few years ago. That's such a common name to try to find him and thank him or something. See if he's still around. I wouldn't even. I don't know what he looked like or what, or if it was even him. So, but I just had this thought a few years ago. He was, I think, I think he was a Berkeley graduate. He started me in the Alfred's Guitar Method, book number 1, reading music, day 1. And uh, I went from him to another guy named Ed Kidder. I think I was like 11 or 12. And he taught me. And he was another well trained musician. I don't remember his educational level. Uh, but I remember he got me into Celtic and taught me some country and folk music, Dust in the Wind, Elizabeth Cotton songs. I actually did a bunch of her stuff back in the day. I think you like her.
Oh,
Yeah, I played
great train.
I've had a lot of different,
Genres.
genres that were given to me when I was a little kid. And when you're a young kid learning guitar, you're not really going to question what the teacher gives you. But, uh, and so he left. The teachers must have valued me. He left. He went to the Navy. He left me every one of his music books as a little boy. He gave them all to me. So
Mhm.
my parents went on to have these books. And I think about it now. Why, out of all the students, how would he do that for me? Maybe he knew something that music would be a way of life for me. And because I'm a teacher myself, and I could see some of these kids, and they warm my heart. And I know who's who. I know who's what. There's a little boy I'm going to give an acoustic guitar amplifier to. As long as he gets, I'm not teaching him now, but I'm going to find out from his mom and give, because I want to give it to him. Kind of like what
Yeah.
Ed Kidder did for me. And so then after that, I don't remember where I went after that, but I've been through a good number of teachers, and they were all highly skilled, and they trained me from day one. This is where I learned about neck positions, like I was showing you, and the fingerings, and muscle memory development, and minimal movement, and all that, so you can learn the neck from day one and play guitar effortlessly. I had very, very good teachers. I didn't have teachers with the YouTube video saying, put your second finger on the third fret of the E string and your first finger, and there's a G chord, and don't tell you anything else about. That's a second position fingering of the chord. And of course, that's going to be more movement and
Yeah.
harder to go from that to a C chord than if you learned how to play from the approach that I was taught. I was taught mainly like the Berkeley method style. When I got more advanced, my teacher put me in the William G. Levitt Berkeley method. I started book one, book two, book three. I don't know if you heard of that. You have this look on your face.
Oh.
Ask any guitar uh, instructor who's been doing it for a number of years, and he'll probably know what I'm saying. Probably, I'm not making an assumption. All guitar teachers will know what the Berkeley method is. It's not an easy method. There's no popular songs, but the way it's laid out and designed by William G. Levitt, it's been around since the 60s, is to help you master the guitar uh, in terms of the technique and the patterning and the way it's designed. When I observed it a few years ago, teaching one of my students, I was like, I understand why this book has such an effect. Just the way it's laid out, with starting with the C major scale and the way they show you the
Yeah.
fingerings and all there's a lot to it.
So you had some pretty almost kind of intense book learning for
Yeah.
guitar for a long
Oh
time.
yeah. Oh yeah. From day one.
But then,
And I,
later on as you became more of an adult, did you play in bands and what style of music did you play in order to kind of get to where you are now?
yeah, I did. I played in bands and other styles. So back when I think I was like third. Hold on, I'm trying to remember the year. I moved to Long Island, East End, when I was.
Doesn't have to be exact date.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the chronology to
Yeah.
get to the time periods here. When I was in seventh grade is when I got into AC/DC. When I started getting rock and Led Zeppelin. I was 12 years old, seventh grade. I had the whole Back in Black album. I had, of course, they had AC/DC books with the notated music in it and all, and I would use
Oh,
those books, and I would also listen to tape cassettes. And I played by ear a lot. And my way of doing it was I would listen to a couple of notes, a couple of measures, da stop it, process it, imprint it in my mind, and find it on the guitar if I didn't have the notated music. Or even if I did have the notated music, I'd still do that just to listen to see if there's anything different. Because there's a couple different ways, for example, to play Hell's Bells. The da 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 da. And so it was AC/DC, big Led Zeppelin uh, time period, so I went through a whole bunch of AC/DC songs. And I remember seeing myself. I could visualize sitting in the basement where I played, and I had my bed was in the basement. And then I went to Led Zeppelin. I had my Zeppelin period where I did a bunch of their songs. I was obsessed with them. And Van Halen, obsessed with Van Halen. It was mainly electric guitar, by the way, that I played. And of course, I played acoustic too, but it was mainly the electric. I mean, that's all I did. I wanted to play the electric. Queen, I had a big Queen kick, uh, like around 15 or 16. This all happened in my formative teenage years. And then eventually, I think it was when I was about 17 or 18, I started getting into the metal, like Metallica or Slayer and Exodus, bands like that, real heavy thrash bands. And I didn't use books then at that time. And then Yngwie Malmsteen, because I was big into the Shredders and Ronnie James Dio, and Night Ranger. And I remember sitting there for hours playing by ear, learning, teaching myself like Far Beyond the Sun or Black Star. I don't remember how I did it. I'm like, I didn't have tuners back then. I had to tune my guitar. I might have actually played the songs in a different key than they were written, for all I know. But I couldn't have. I'm sorry, I just was stupid. If I was playing along with the album, I played in the key that they were playing in. But somehow I figured it out by ear, and I was learning these solos and the rhythms and just playing along with Van Halen, with Ingve Malmsteen, with Dokken, uh, Rat, Cinderella, all the hair bands, all the great guitar players like Warren D. Martini,
Wow.
Vandenberg. I'm trying to think of who else. There's so many. Scorpions are the big Matthias Jabs. Influence. If I could say I have main influences on the electric guitar, the dominant influences I have on my playing, uh, at the time were Vivian Campbell, Jimmy Page, Yngwie Malmsteen, George Lynch, and Eddie Van Halen. In terms of like where I picked
Wow.
up my electrical influence. Now Gilmour came in later in life. Gilmour's now David Gilmour. One of my influences came in back in the, believe it or not, early '90s. I got much into the Gilmour back then, and I wasn't much into the jazz. But when I went to college for music back in 1988 to 1990, I was studying classical. I always liked classical.
Hmm.
So I had a strong classical guitar influence underneath all the rock and all the metal. And my teacher in college, and even before college, I had the same teacher. He gave me a lot of jazz. He gave me some ragtime pieces to do, and he gave me a wide variety of genres. The Eagles, he taught me Hotel California, so much music I was given in
Wow.
there.
You had such a eclectic background and such deep learning and immersion into a lot of these groups. So then how did you end up where you are now? I mean, I think of you now as kind of a just imaginative, uh, um, what's the right word? You just play sort of by feel.
Yeah. Well, number one, I totally am so glad I learned music from books and theoretical stuff from day one. But where did I get to? That's what I was smiling a few seconds ago when you were saying that. How did I get to where I was now? It's funny. I was not the best student, to be honest. That's how I got to where I'm at now. I was not the best classic left, well, all wanted to do left brain student. Well, my teachers would give me assignments. Like, and as a young person, I believe that, I had to learn. It would make me a good player. I played better. I didn't do all the practice assignments and all the scales they gave me and all the theoretical stuff. I waited to the last minute half the time, day before the lesson, I crammed it in. Sometimes my teachers could, well, most of the time they could probably tell I didn't always do it. Because during the week, what was I doing? I was taking like some of the stuff that they gave me, like, let me take this scale pad, let me experiment. And I was just playing along and just exploring the guitar and listening to music, figuring out the metal songs. But it did sink in and I did learn. So I'm not being half facetious, but half serious. There's a validity to that. The creative side that I was not afraid to express myself and go outside the box and just do
Yeah,
what I wanted to do.
yeah,
And so,
that's good. That really comes
yeah,
through your music because we have, we go back to. I should have mentioned this, but we met at the Victor Wooten's
the cleanup.
Wooten Woods at the spring cleanup, and then we also did a couple of concerts for
Humanity.
Humanity with Roy Future Man Wooten in Tennessee, and that was fun. That was really fun. So I certainly know your music very well, and you've made really music your life.
But yeah, it's kind of a necessity for me in terms of it is a language. It's a means of me connecting and getting away from, if I could say, a personal uh what am I trying to say? You heard what it's peace. It's very peaceful. It's very calming.
Yeah,
Back in the day, I had a lot. I still deal with kind of getting very angry about certain things and I try to it helps me bring me to a state of peace. Like thinking about government, thinking about society, a lot of noise just kind of bothers me. Even when I played in bands, I was never one for a lot of noise, a lot of big social commotion. I was always introverted, but I didn't know what an introvert was back then. I was not as aware, conscious of who I am as I am now. I didn't know anything about the brain. I didn't know anything about how we pick up our habits and our beliefs. I was one of those like kid, book smart, kids that talked all the time with the who
Yeah.
came across as being like intelligent, but I mean, people thought I was. Like I'm not. I wasn't that back at that time. I was wanting to be somebody and wanted to have connection. So now, without getting going off on a tangent and sounding too uh, uh, disconnected, uh, what I play now is so deeply rooted to I can't even put words on it.
Yeah, well, who you are, music. It seems like it sort of balances you. It settles you. It gives you a purpose and meaning. And so, my next kind of big question is,
But hold on, before I forget, the
right?
important thing. Yeah, you notice my music doesn't have words. This is why I had a hard time trying to describe it.
Mm,
And it's I guess it's my tongue. It's my connection to the divine, God.
mhm.
It's instrumental. It's the vibration. It's the sound. It's the frequency. And ironically, I actually a couple days ago I was listening to a video by Sully Erna, Godsmack. You know the band Godsmack? They're all heavy thrash band, whatever you call them, hardcore metal from Boston. He's almost identical, like his view of music and frequencies and just the sound and all that is the way I believe. And 2 days ago, I was listening to them like, oh my God, I got to meet Sully one day if it's ever possible. And because metalheads actually connect with what I do. The metalhead hears the ambient instrumental, jazz, classical influence music that I do. They resonate with it. And anyway, your question.
Well, so obviously it's been very important for you. It's really kind of guided your life. It's what you focus on a huge amount. And so you're almost a living testament to the power of music in yourself. But how would you describe it? You just described it a little bit in terms of the spirit and making you feel peaceful and all that. But what is the power of music to you as you feel it and as you would express it to other people who would like to know more about the power of music?
Try to simplify what you're saying. I'm a little confused.
Well, just how do you explain what is the power of music to you? Why has it been so important that you decided you've kind of made your life about music?
Oh, okay. So number one, it helped me heal from a neurological movement disorder. It helped me find purpose. It helped me find. It became a language for me to communicate to the universe, to God, the divine. It became so it's a communication, a form of healing, and I'll get into the story, which I think is the most important
Yeah.
thing. Uh, and the power, everything, everything around us, everything that we're in connection with has a sound. I mean, for the most part, I mean, we hear people talk, we hear the tone of their voice. But the tone of one's voice makes a huge difference on how people are affected, more so than their words. And I got to remember that more often. And with my tone, when I'm with little kids and teaching, it's easy for me to have that tone. But when I'm talking to adults, sometimes I always have to think, even when I'm doing business engagements and business dealing, because I do have a habit. I'm from New York, and a lot of us are like blah, 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 battling off 8 miles an hour. And I mean, it's a common trait of a lot of us from up there. And but the tone says a lot. It says everything that's inside here. But everything like birds, crickets, the noise of trucks, which I'm very sensitive to, the loud noises. Everything is a sound. The power comes from the vibration and the frequency. And the more I see things where I'm living now get built up and get more noisy and chaotic, leading me to be led to live somewhere else, which I'm working on now. I think to myself, does anybody appreciate silence? Do they realize the power of silent space? No music, no sound. I said no music on purpose because we're talking about music, but having no sound, having silence, the space between the sounds. If we're constantly around human chatter all the time, humans talking, and we're around concrete, and we're around steel, and we're around all of this mishmash of vibrations, it can cut us off from the answers that we're looking for and connecting with our higher self. It depends on our sensitivity, but we're not going to get into a whole discussion on neuroscience or epigenetics and all that. I mean, that's something else that I've studied on my own. But the power of music. Now, are you ready to hear about the story, or you want to wait? Do you have any
Yeah, no,
questions?
I think it's good because it's one of the things that we've sort of shared and talked about. You can give the perspective to it, but it's how you kind of cured yourself of this thing, same thing that Victor Wooten has been dealing with.
Yeah, that's an ironic coincidence. And I don't know
Yeah.
if Victor's going to
Uh,
ever
so
listen to this video, but if he does, Victor, you deserve to be healed entirely.
yeah,
What you do for people with your inspiration and and your guidance is just amazing. He's an amazing person. I sometimes feel embarrassed because I haven't been to one of the camps yet, other than to help him out. I started going there because I resonate so much with his book and what he says. I just feel such a connection. Even
yeah,
though I'm not into bass, it's so funny. It's just like I got to meet the guy one night. I met him, but
yeah.
it's
The
real busy.
music lesson book for anybody who's
Oh
wondering by
man,
Victor
I even read The
Wooten.
Spirit of Music in like a week. I
Changed my
mean,
life. I read it a bunch of times, listened to the
oh,
audiobook too, and got all
oh
really
yeah, yeah,
inspired to do my own audiobook. So yeah, I hear you. But he has this thing, focal dystonia, right? And that's
yeah,
what
yeah.
you had. So can you describe that and how you had it and what you did to kind of make it better?
Yeah. Let me breathe here for a minute and think of where I'm going to start, and then I'm going to go into something I think is very important about something we were talking earlier about the culture now and people you having the sound baths and all. I'm going to go into something about music and identity and the power of music.
Okay.
Well, it's all symbiotic with each other in all of its facets.
Yeah.
All right. I did not touch a guitar for 9 years. I'm going to tell you the linear story. Well, give me some if you got some time, because this will be the easiest way to explain it. And it'll be a story. People are going to hear the story. If anybody gets any information from this that benefits them in their life, that will be great. So, back in 1996, I was playing in a hardcore, like a New York hardcore style band, kind of like bands like Agnostic Front or Biohazard type music. Like we were Cro-Mags and stuff like that. I don't know if you're familiar with those bands. Name of the band was Headcase. That was the last band I was in. And something just didn't feel right. And I just felt fake, just the way everything just didn't feel right to me anymore. Just the music and being in the clubs and being around people and society, cities, and not enough time in nature. I'm going to emphasize certain words in here. Something my inner guidance was telling me, stop playing in the band. And I was just guided and led to go fishing every day because that was one of my favorite things, fishing. And some of my friends would call me John the Fisherman. And yeah, I know, water. I've always been affiliated with water. I do a lot of saltwater fishing. That's where I was up in Long Island. I freshwater fish too. So all I did every night after I got out of my miserable work, I hated every job that I had. I couldn't hold a job more than 6 months. And I go fishing every day. And I felt so at peace, so connected, being out there in the water, night fishing, stripers, under the full moon, smelling the sea air, listening to the cry of a loon across the placid veneer of Shinnecock Bay or wherever the heck I was. I was home. And what I'm giving you here is very important. I really give credit, first of all, before I continue, to these people that can speak and tell stories and keep on track. That's a gift. It's not a gift that I have. Peace storytelling people, man. My mind works so fast. But anyway, nature, the connection. That's the very impetus for my music and what I do now. The solace, the connection, that's the divine. So I fished all the time, and I hunted. It's another one of my hobbies. I did that in the winter. It's all mainly my connection to nature and my love of the outdoors. So 9 years from 1996 to 2005, I didn't even touch the guitar. I did not even think I had music left in my soul. I never thought I would get back into music again. Never even entertained the idea. Just went working one dead-end job to the next. And in 2005, I was with an ex-girlfriend. She's ex now. I was with her then. And she got me back in the guitar. Every time we go to someone's house, and they had a guitar line, people would say, "Yeah, John, play guitar. He's great. You got to watch him play." And I'm thinking in the back of my head, I haven't touched the guitar. The only reason they knew I played guitar is because I told them I played guitar for years, and they would see a guitar, play the guitar. And the only thing I remembered was "Dust in the Wind." So I was 10 years old. It was the only covered finger picking song I remembered from back in the day. And I thought I was amazing. And I'm like, what are they talking about? What? I haven't played in years. And then one day I was like, wait, I'm letting her down. This is like the third time I'm letting a lady down. Oh, I'm going to play. So I got inspired to get back into guitar then. And one day when I was playing, I was like, and I was 37 at the time when I got back into it. It's 20 years since I got back into guitar. It's February 2005. And I thought to myself, this is what I want to do. I'm in this for the long run. And I decided on acoustic guitar, playing the stuff that I do now. And before I got back into music, like the last 3 or 4 years before I did, every time I'd hear music on the radio that they kept on for background noise, or if I was riding with a friend, I'd hear something like a Windham Hill or a Nevada song. I'd get the chills. And I would say to myself over and over again, if I ever got back into guitar, if I ever had nice guitars, that's what I would do. So before I got back into it, I set that intention that I would play what I was doing now. But I wasn't realizing I was actually going to get back into guitar.
Yeah.
So, I said that storytelling, I had to go backtrack because I forgot that part. So every time I would hear something like that, I said, if I ever had good guitars, I would play that. And I felt it. There was a feeling. You got to feel the music. And I said it over and over again. And during the same time period, the name of my album, years later, came to me that I did not even realize and know it would be the name of my album. Everything Coincidental was my first album because of all these synchronicities and these coincidences that were happening. So I was being handed the tools about 4 to 5 years before I got back into guitar, because our spirit, God, whatever we want to call it, knows who we are, knows our identity, knows our connection, knows everything about us that we did not know. So cut forward again. So I got back into guitar, found purpose, said to myself, I'm almost 40. I don't have retirement. I have nothing. I'm like, oh my God, I have no direction. I'm sticking with music. I'm sticking with it for the long run. I'm going to be true to who I am. I'm just going to do what I'm led to do. I was just guided to do that. And a lot of people wouldn't get back into music at that age of life. They'd make up an excuse not to. Why they couldn't do it, and never even make an attempt. So one day I was like, why am I messing up with my right hand all the time? Why is it hard to be accurate? I thought I was just rusty. So I started going for guitar lessons locally here, and figuring that the teacher would help me out. So he gave me some classical studies and Giuliani and maybe some Soar. That's what I was doing, like classical fingerpicking stuff, like I did back in school. And it really wasn't helping that much. And then one day when I went to Target, I think it was, looked for some new music, some new instrumental music, instrumental ambient kind of stuff. And I ran across Billy McLaughlin. He's another guitar player. I think he used to be on Narada Records, and he's one of my favorites. After I discovered him, and I like to research biographies and find out about my favorite artists. I don't care about the techniques. I don't care about how they play their instrument. I want to know who they are as people. I want to know about their life. I want to know about where they like to live. That's, to me, one way to develop virtuosity in your own self. Know the musicians. Who are they? Don't worry about their chops or their licks or the techniques. So I started researching a Billy McLaughlin on his website, and I saw a phone number on there, and I was like, wait a minute. The way my brain works, I'm trying to connect the dots and find connections. I'm like, wait, Billy plays a similar kind of music. He's up in Minnesota. I'm in Alabama. I'm thinking he tours around. Maybe he knows a teacher down here in Alabama that could help me. So I'm not rusty anymore because this other guy wasn't really helping me. So I called Billy. He actually gets on the phone. He had a phone number back then on his website. And I told Billy my situation, and Billy told me, all right, let me ask you some questions and answer these questions. Please don't ask why. There's a good reason it's going to benefit you. And I answered, I think, yes to every single one of them. And he suggested, go see a neurologist. I'm like, why? What are these weeks the matter? And he said, please just take my advice to go see a neurologist. Because he probably didn't want to tell me and then be a doctor to diagnose me, whatever. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it was a personal thing. He just didn't want to. But he didn't tell me. He knew what I was experiencing. So I went.
And then you were experiencing, so if you hear anything, it's my bird clock.
Yeah, that's right.
Hour. But basically, you figured you were rusty because you hadn't been playing for a while.
Yeah.
What you're saying is, and what he was telling you is that it's more than that.
Yes, because
Right.
of what I was describing. Yes, so what was happening, the fingers would like feel a little stiff and then curl a little bit, and they just felt funny, and they were feeling really funny. Why they just didn't feel right. So I made an appointment, went to Kirkland Clinic in Birmingham, Alabama here, and met with a doctor, Paul Atchison. The first time I ever experienced a doctor who I actually liked, who was a human being. And this is part of my synchronicity, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
The synchronicities I was experiencing. I never liked doctors. They're all about making money. You hear people saying they're cold, you're in, you're out, hurry up, get. This doctor sat, he talked about his life. He sat in a chair and he just lounged out, laid back. And after he done diagnosing me, I was actually in a hurry to get somewhere, and he was just sitting there talking to me. Like, he warmed my heart. He was a real doctor. It was so funny. And he was a genuine doctor. And he diagnosed me with vocal dystonia. And one of the ways.
Just so people, and focal, it's like FOCAL, dystonia, focal dystonia, right?
Yeah. It's also called musician dystonia. And what it is
Right.
thank God, there's no pain. It's also known as task specific. You only know you have it when you're doing the task. You don't know you have it. It doesn't affect you unless you're playing your instrument. You wouldn't know you had it. And so he tried me on Botox injections, which is one way that some people have it treated. Yeah, Botox injections. That's why I look like I'm 20 now. No, okay. But no, he gave me Botox injections, and it didn't really work that well. And then I started reading like stuff on Leon Fleischer. He had it. David Leisner, I think he cured himself too, I believe. That's interesting. If David Leisner, one of my Facebook friends, they've spoken with him occasionally.
So when you went to play guitar, your hand didn't really let you play.
Yeah.
Way
Now I can.
play.
Yeah, remember today I was doing the classical tremolo again? That's part of the curing. I can do the classical tremolo. And so what happened then, and this is where it gets really, really interesting. All right, the Botox didn't work. This is where some guitar players may like this idea, but I want it to be real. I don't want to be like everybody else. All right. I thought to myself, I have to adapt. I'm here to play guitar. God gave me a purpose. A purpose. I'm here. I found my purpose. I'm doing music. He's not going to let me be like this. No. I mean, there were times when I was mad and I was cursing him out. But I'm like, no, I'm going to heal this. And I'm going to adapt and do something. So I decided to write songs with two hands on the neck. Car went by. Did you hear that?
Just a little.
Oh my God. Okay, that's noise auto suppression works great. All right. So I decided to write my first few songs tapping, two hands on the neck, like Stanley Jordan. Like I was like, not like some Hedges style, but with all two hands on the neck. And the Billy did that when he adapted, but he learned to play left-handed. But so I was doing stuff like all two hand, but melody, not like all percussive. It was more like melodic stuff.
But your hands would do that.
Yeah. You see, the dystonia didn't affect me if I tapped with my right hand. It was only my right hand. It didn't affect me if I tapped. Only if I tried finger pick it. So, but the tapping, I was able to tap out two-handed songs. And then one day I thought to myself, and this is the time when Andy McKee and Candy Rack Records and all these percussion guys came out, and I said, you know, everybody's doing that. I don't want to be tapping on the neck and showing off. It's not, I don't want to do that. It's not me. I want to be able to play like I was influenced, very influenced, like Alex DeGrassi. He was one of my main influences, him and Will Ackerman. And they were the ones that highly influenced me when I got back into this. And I mean, I've had tears coming out of my eyes listening to Will and Alex's songs at times. Not all of Alex's. Some of his are too like jazzy, but some of his songs like
I interviewed Will Ackerman a few years ago. Yeah.
Just every one of his songs has the potential to bring a tear to my eyes.
Yeah.
Some Rossi's, like Causeway one time, had me like very emotional. And that was part of me releasing trauma when that happened during that time period. And so I said, I want to be able to play and use all my fingers. I don't want to be tapping like everybody else. And there was another case of feeling kind of fake. I can tap like a madman if I want to on guitar, but I just don't, because it just doesn't feel. It's not really me. Sometimes I will. You'll see me do a little thing here and there for a measure or so, but not this. I'm talking my hands like funny. Something out of the movie The Godfather. Hey, Italians talking with their hands. So I set this intention to heal and be able to use all my fingers. So all of a sudden, intuition kicks in again. Let me go back to my Mauro Giuliani 120 right-hand studies. And those are, if you're not familiar with them, they're very popular right-hand finger-picking studies by a classical composer from the 18th century named Mauro Giuliani. And his studies are very popular for people studying classical guitar. He's even got left-hand studies too, the complete Giuliani studies. I actually have that book. I think I did some of them too. And I said, I'm going to do that before I play my alter tuning stuff and do the fun stuff. I'm going to take about 20 minutes to half an hour a day and just practice those studies. And I visualized my fingers working like weeping willow blades in the spring breeze. That was my mantra in my head. And I would visualize, and I did it with my eyes open. It's easier for me to visualize things when I'm looking up to the left, my eyes open, than it is my eyes closed. And for me, it's interesting. I don't know if it's like that with other people, but it's easier to visualize looking up to the left with my eyes closed my eyes open rather than closed. So I would visualize the weeping willow blades just effortlessly moving in the breeze while I'm doing those studies. And eventually, like when I'm playing, I can direct the energy in my mind to my hand and have my finger just snap very effortlessly and move the finger as a whole at the hand knuckle joint. When you're finger picking, you're supposed to move at the hand knuckle joint, the metacarpal. That's the way you're taught. And you want to use economy of movement. You want to use as little energy as possible. So and that's actually a principle in Tai Chi, or like Qigong. I think it's called Song, they call it, when I was studying Tai Chi, Song. And my instructor always had a debate is like, it's not the same. And I'm like, it's the same. I'm picturing, it's like when my fingers move like that, and they're not even doing much, and it doesn't take a lot of effort to get a lot of attack on a note. That's the song. So I would start visualizing my fingers working like weeping willow blades. Eventually, there's that effortlessness. And I also incorporated something that David Leisner did, use the larger muscle groups. Instead of using just your finger, you'd use your arm. You work with gravity. Here, I'll bring up nature again. Nature. If you're working with nature, you're doing things effortlessly. So I use my whole, I don't have a guitar beat, but I'm using my larger muscle groups. Sometimes, like if I'm doing something rhythmic, I'll move my arm a little bit. You're not going to see my whole arm moving, but I'm using larger muscle groups. It's hard to explain, but it's more of a feeling type thing. So I was doing all that, and by constantly doing it over and over again, repetition over time, and it got better and better. But the real trick to all this healing is, there's a moth on my glasses.
Yeah, he was on your glasses, but I didn't want to distract you.
And the real thing that was occurring is the alter tunings. This is very imperative, and this is where we get into the sound therapy. So that's the practical, the left brain part, the studies and the visualization and all. But now, when I alter the tuning and would start finding voicings, like I demonstrated to you last week with the different tunings, finding your sound, your soul, I would find the voicings, and like two, 3-chord voicings, and I would just start playing, and I would start getting hypnotized. Didn't realize I was self-hypnotizing myself. It wasn't in the conscious mind. I would get deep into a subconscious state, go into like almost a cross between an alpha and a theta state of consciousness. And at that state is where the songs would start writing themselves. That's where traumas would start coming up. That's where when I visualize my fingers working like perfectly, thinking God's got purpose for me, I'm going to heal this. That's where I would send signals to my brain to heal myself of those conditions. So what I was doing at the time, which I reflected on as recently as 4 years ago, I was cured of this. I would say it's been about 13 years that I've been fully cured from it. 14 maybe, 13 years. And I thought I was activating auditory, kinesthetic, and visual, those three modalities while I was in a hypnotic state. Auditory, your ears; kinesthetic, the feeling, the finding of the sound; and the visual. All of those modalities are activated for a single intention to heal in that deep state. Is what got me to the point to where I was able to cure myself.
Wow.
And to go add another level to it now, to get to the next step of what I see now going on in culture now with musicians and healing frequencies and all this new ageism that's tended to become very prevalent now.
Right.
Is I think to myself, this is years ago, before that was all a trend, the sound baths and 432 hertz and 432, 528, the frequency of love. I cured myself of that years before that happened. And you heard my story on how I did it. I'm hoping I didn't miss anything. I think I was pretty thorough about the process in which I was doing it. And the process holistically, in terms of me finding purpose, not feeling right doing the metal, and being led and being guided, and nature having something to do with it. My songs are about nature, and I visualize the places that bring me joy and peace and love, stuff like that. It's all an identity. It's all knowing oneself. It's more than just clinking on singing bowls and playing tuning to 432. I mean, some people, like, they believe it. It's okay. If you want to believe what works for you, allow it to happen. But there isn't this one size fits all frequency healing modality yet, I believe. And that's when I got into studying a bit of neuroscience, the brain and learning about how music relates. And I know Daniel Levitin's friends with you. If he runs into the video, Daniel, you're the genius.
Yeah.
He's the brilliant. He's the genius. I don't know anywhere near as much as he knows of that, but I know enough to talk to people and help them have conversations and hold a good conversation on it. Plus, I've experienced the healing. So I'm saying that so people don't think I'm not a neuroscientist, but I've studied it on my own and I'm very interested in it. But the trend now with the frequency emphasis and sound baths and all that whole culture, I think it's great. It's great intentions, but a lot of the people just are making money. There's nothing wrong with making money. We all have to make money and do things the way we enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not bashing those people, but I wonder how many really understand the very mechanics of healing from sound. How many really understand it? I had no idea what frequencies I was in. I was in 440, but I tuned for 440, typical A440. And then I would change the tuning. I'd drop like Dad did. I'll drop it down to D, D, G, A, D, or E flat A, D, G, C, D, one of the tunes I used at one time. And I would just let the sound, the mode, whatever mode was coming up, I felt it. I hypnotized myself. I got into that state. In other words, do you see what I'm saying, Jeff? There's no one size fits all. And with me, Lydian, one of my favorites. I mean, I do a lot of modes, actually. I can't just say it's Lydian, Ionian. I can recognize them in an altered tuning. Well, now I've been doing it for so long. Lydian, Ionian, Mixolydian, Aeolian. I use everything except really Locrian, I guess. But mainly, I'm strong with that Lydian. And every mode and every rhythm, the rhythms have a lot to do with it, too. Every rhythm has an effect. So when I was in the process of curing myself, I noticed that there were phrases and movements that were calming, that would simply calm me. There were movements and rhythmic meters that would give me power, like anything in an eighths time, like 6/8, 12/8, so like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, has a rolling watery motion to me. And I discovered and analyzed that when I write something like that, it's usually my B section. I write like my own forms, like kind of an ABA. Starts up with an extended melody, goes up to like a climactic B section that's in like 6/8 or 12/8 or some time signature like that. And then I'll come back down to extended melody and a variation at the beginning. I wasn't thinking of this when I came up with these tunings and altered tunings, these songs and altered tunings. But after doing it for a number of years, I wanted to analyze my music, what I was doing. And when I improvise, I still do the same thing. It starts off like that and builds up and it comes down. But the rhythm has a lot to do with it, too, because you feel rhythm. Any of you, Roy, or any of you be your friends, they'll understand the rhythm has a lot to do with the healing. It's not just the frequency. It's the rhythm. It's the vibration. It's the totality of it all. So when I think of what's going on in culture now, all these well-meaning people with the sound baths and trying to find their purpose, trying to make income. I know this lady here, she's a school teacher. She teaches elementary music. She does sound baths. But people, if you discover that there's no one size fits all, it's beautiful. And I'm saying this because from my experience, I sometimes feel like people are being let down. I think of how people will go and they'll do the group sound baths with everybody and they'll think it's calming. I mean, probably it is calming a lot of them.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of deceptive sometimes. You're deceiving the people by saying these are the sound baths, these are the healing frequencies for you. Like almost some of the people have this authority over what's going to heal you, but they don't realize it. If they would step back, people, and just listen, there's no one size fits all. I'm trying to make this clear. And I feel like I'm having a stupid moment explaining it.
Well, just to say, I mean, because I've known you for a while, and you are very intuitive and also exploratory. And what you're saying is, if you have a problem, and it might not just be focal dystonia, it could be anything.
anything.
that, it's in intention of wanting to cure or heal yourself or make yourself get better, but by using different aspects of your body, and it could be
Yeah.
musical or rhythmic or just kinesthetic. Is that what you said?
Kinesthetic.
Kinesthetic, right? And different, and even trying to put yourself into a mental state, which I know because I've had these sound baths from in India when I was there with the Tibetan bowls, and I have some now, and
Yeah.
I like to try to show people
Hmm.
what that's like to have sound just kind of take you somewhere else,
Yeah.
which is even different than listening to music or going to, you
Yeah.
obviously you can do that, but just sound, pure sound, take you somewhere else. It's like an opening the door
Yeah.
to what sound
Exactly.
really can do if you really put your mind to it and your intention on doing what you want.
Yeah.
And I would
You
not
can
want
use any kind of, and you can use any kind of sound. It's just interesting that there's sound bath has become a common term for people
yeah,
with
yeah.
singing
Um,
bowl. But the funny thing is, music's been around for years, and people listen to their favorite bands. They're taking a quote, what people are calling a sound bath. It's just sound. They're just feeling the vibrations of the
well,
universe.
yeah, any way that we can help people sort of get more in touch with sound, with
Yeah.
understanding sound,
Yeah.
experiencing sound, thinking about sound, exploring sound, I
Yeah.
think is good. And what, part of the mission of Planetary Gig Society is trying to, well, bring peace to the world. Eileen
Yeah.
McKee would say harmony maybe is more
Yeah.
important than peace, but
Yeah.
taking that self-healing out to the world. And so, how do we do that? And I think you're contributing to that conversation about
I'll show
how
you
people
how.
can help our
I'll give you an example.
society, right?
Well, I'll give you an example. It's from what I would do if I was conducting a class. I'd like to help people discover how they relate to sound, their own sound, like you would sing in bowls or whoever's doing singing. I don't know how you conduct your singing bowls, but you could have a class, for example, with people and have them listen and give them feedback rather than just playing each individual. Okay, what did you feel when I did this for 5 minutes? What were you thinking? What were you feeling? Do you just get the people to open up and share how they're feeling and how they relate? Have it become an interactive, a question and answer dialogue, and then try something different with a different bowl, maybe a different material. Get into deep listening, deep sound, but have them think for themselves and see what resonates with them, and let them all know that one size does not fit all. Some people may not resonate the same. And I'll tell you something with music, and this is so true. And I wondered for a number of years, I'm like, sometimes I can play one of my songs that I write and feel it and connect and get empowered or cry out a little tear because I get to connect. Next time I play this, it's like dead. There's nothing to it. I found out from a neuroscience guy, I don't remember who it was, that you're not always going to be in the same moment at any given moment to resonate on the same vibrational level with something that you played the day before. You may need to play something more sad, melancholic the next day to help you. You may need to play something more empowered. You may need to play something more jack, but it's a matter of listening here. If you're not feeling it, move on to something else.
Yeah. Well, I think you've got a lot of through your self knowledge and self uh, teaching and listening. You've developed kind of a process that is a good example to people because I do believe in sound and what it can do. We are sound, and Victor explains music in his book, and we've tapped into that, but people kind of don't really hear. They hear music, or they may hear a sound bath or something, but they don't kind of grasp it the way you have. to try to make yourself, just happier with yourself.
Yeah.
And what you've done, the way you've done it and explained it, is kind of, I think, some good inspiration for people as to how they can go deep into sound, whether they're musicians or not, really, and try to, make a difference in what they want to accomplish.
Well, one thing they can do is take people out for a walk in nature, but nature where you're not too far from the highway, for example, and have them connect, like listen to the birds, listen to the wind and the trees. Just listen. How does it make you feel? Sometimes if I hear the wind, it'll put me in a different place, put me in a different time period. Sometimes if I smell something, it does the same thing. Then you could ask somebody when the truck comes by. Do you feel anything? Does it make you feel a certain way when you hear noise? Like with me, loud noise in trucks, they make me shake in my lower legs. It's a spirit thing, and it's like I have to move out of here. One thing I discovered about something I think I discovered something very powerful this morning. And before I forget about music, I'm going to share my story about last week, about me thinking I had a heart attack at the end to the listener. I thought that last week ever happened. This is what's got to go in the interview. There's something powerful to that. But this morning I had a possible epiphany. And it came to me by listening to the wind and the birds and looking at the clouds and being out in nature. Right before we had our lesson. Change is very hard for many people. Very hard. And I thought, why is change so hard? And I started thinking, addictions. Could it be an addiction? Like you're addicted to a drug, or a chemical addiction to the familiarity.
Ah.
Could it be? No. I want to ask somebody who's knowledgeable. I'm going to find somebody would have knowledge on it. Could the difficulty and the resistance to changing, like selling a house, or relocating and going up to that intentional community, could that attachment be an addiction? And it's common with a lot of people.
Yes.
A chemical addiction to the familiarity, like a drug use, the familiarity of being on the drugs, of being afraid to get off, or somebody who's familiar with abuse and afraid to get out of that. People would not normally think of change Jeff, this is why I'm saying this. Just changing for the good. People would not normally think of that as an addiction, but it may just be an addiction because the chemicals is keeping you there in that familiar place and the fear that comes from going to a different place. It could be the same thing and no different than a drug addiction.
Yeah, or addiction to grievance, or addiction to complaining, or looking down on people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So mention that other story if you don't mind, because it's been a really good conversation, and I'm glad we were finally able to do this. But
yeah,
you wanted to talk about the sensation you had. This week.
Yeah, last week. Remember, I called you. I was figuring you might know the symptoms or whatever. I was calling a bunch of people. No one was available to talk, but thank God everything worked out all right. It only happened twice, this year and last year. I think around the same time period. When the allergies, it was hard to breathe, sinuses through my nose, and I recorded a song, and about 25 minutes later, for no reason at all, nothing led up to it, I started getting these weird panicky feelings. And I was thinking, well, oh my God, am I getting a heart attack? And I don't know why I thought that. I'm healthy. I mean, there's no reason to think that. My blood flows. I don't have, I exercise, take ice baths. I go running in 105-degree heat index, and I'm fine. I'm like, for God's sake, if I have a heart problem, I know it. I thought of that afterwards. I had to affirm that and say, I'm okay. So suddenly I had this panic. And it was just coincided with recording a song. I don't know if there is a connection, the vibrational frequency connection, to the release of trauma which I'm about to get to. Maybe, maybe not. This is just a hypothetical. I think I'll share the story. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. And so I started freaking out and trying to control myself because I live by myself. And I'm like, should I drop a doctor? Should I drop? Oh my God, what do I do? I need to find out what symptoms are. Am I okay? And the mind was going crazy. And like, eventually it started subsiding. And during the whole time, I was breathing because I know deep breathing is always good. I breathed my way out of it. But during the last part of it, all of a sudden I started thinking of one of my favorite students. And I had tears coming out of my eyes. I started thinking of how I love my music students, the little kids, the children out of the way of this world. And I started thinking about, I almost sent a text message to all the parents, like 5 of the students, telling them how much I value their kids and how much they've inspired me. Because I haven't had, I've been through a lot of challenges. The kids, made my day brighter. And I felt some tears coming out. And I felt a little bit of release. And then all of a sudden, a phrase popped into my head. Love is what matters. No more hatred, no more anger. Because I've had a lot of hatred like over the years in my heart. Like my music of peace. And not for the world. I mean, not for everybody, but I dealt with stuff like that. And I thought to myself, the music, 20 minutes later, started getting panicky, thinking I was having a heart attack. And I started crying out trauma. Then I started saying, I'm okay, I'm fine, I'm okay. Everything's fine. And then I thought to myself, okay, why? What's the connection? What's the connection? Did the music have something to do with it? I was thinking, did the frequencies have something to do with it? But I play that same piece all the time. I've never had that happen before. So there's one example about how music could have possibly a healing, an effect like that. That's unexpected. It happened, but it was an unpleasant feeling. And then I felt better afterwards. I actually, right afterwards, like an hour and a half, hour after it was all done, I went out in the middle of the hottest part of the day. I went out for a little brief jog. My heart's fine. Thinking I had a heart attack a few hours earlier.
Well, there's this book, Celestine Prophecy, that
I read that. It's one of my favorites.
Somebody at Wooten Woods told me about, and I don't remember all the insights, but the first insight was recognizing synchronicities.
Mm-hmm.
So I really try to do that now. When things happen, I'm like, well, there's a reason, something's good. What's the silver lining if I think it might be a bad thing? And maybe what you're talking about is, music has effects on us, and we don't know why, but people, I'm not sure, ask, was it the music, and what did music do, and what was music's message for me, maybe? So once again, I think you think in a very open way, and in a way that I think is useful for people to hear. So I hope we get a couple people to listen to our conversation that we've had tonight. And I really appreciate it, and being able to talk with you about it and hear the full story of the focal dystonia situation. And I appreciate what you're doing, and it sounds like you're in a good place. So thank you very much.
Well, yeah, I appreciate it.
Tinger, I really do appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you too. And all right, I guess we're wrapped up. Right.
Yeah, well, yeah, we can wrap up. I appreciate it, and we'll be in touch.
All right.
Through music. Thank you so much, John.
All right. Thanks. You too.